I'm trying to see if I can position Jar Jar with my face on that camera.
Hello. It's a video Namaste Christmas special. Usa bisa Jar Jar Binks.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hello. Welcome to the grotto of cinematic delights and history. Welcome to part 2 of the Video Namaste Christmas special. It's not particularly special, but it's a Christmas episode.
That is special.
That's alright.
That's well special.
I guess it's kind of special.
Well, it doesn't seem anymore.
That's
What you got there, Finlay?
That's us cracked out the walnut cake, the moist walnut cake.
I'd show you my bit, but I've eaten it.
Did you?
It's gone.
I started mine first.
But you like a sparrow?
Like a little bird. Like a little bird.
See, I make a mistake of just shoveling everything down there, and then at end the meal, and then it's only at the end of the meal I'm like, oh, and I never learn.
Riffed like an old woman eating cucumber pieces. Just sitting there go, excuse me.
The other thing when you're eating at Christmas, when you feel like your body's about to tell you that you're full and that you should stop eating, so you just speed up. Quick!
I've got a lie to my own body.
This is a great idea.
Mind biology.
So this is part 2 of our little Christmas loving, isn't it? We've already
fire
discussed...
gone, we've got the tree, we've got Jar Jar Binks' heat, we've got some cheesy nibbles, bit of walnut cake,
A wee Santa mug.
wee Santa mug, some festive gear on.
I'm wearing a jumper.
I've got
I'm
slippers
wearing
on.
a sweet Gremlins wreath t-shirt.
That's good. Huh?
It's
I thought you
eggnog
said
coloured.
reef. Like,
Blood you away!
Gremlins versus reef. A Christmas wreath.
So our subject for Christmas is we're talking about Tenuously Festive.
Tenuously Christmas.
Find a camera to look at instead of looking at the fucking floor.
My name is Richie. This is my story about Star Trek.
I'm pretending the cameras are women that I've just met in a social situation. Wanted to talk to you about a film.
Have you seen my shoes?
Time's a flat circle. Time's a flat circle that we all must obey.
So we're going for Tenuously Festive, so that's films that are not really about Christmas, but
Nearly Christmas.
They're kind of Christmassy because they're set at Christmas.
Uh-huh.
They're not even. This one isn't even that Christmassy.
It's Christmassier than Robocop 3.
That's true. That's true. We discussed Robocop 3, but the good thing about Robocop 3 is we decided it was a very good film to watch around Christmas.
Yeah.
Onwards to Terry Gilliam's.
Absolutely dino.
You could
You could have done it without one.
Brazil.
I don't think I've eaten focus as well.
Once again, some arty type makes a film trying to make the corporate world look bad because they're jealous. You can see it now, Terry Gilliam on all fours licking a businessman's shoe. Please give me money so that I can make fun of you with it, and then please pay for the distribution. Pathetic. It could only be Brazil, starring Johnny Price.
So Brazil kind of exists in its own world, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has that little subtitle at the beginning where it's like somewhere in the 20th century. And it's got this kind of 1984 sort of vibe going on as well. There's
Bit of dystopia.
It's very grey, very industrial. It's quite beautiful in a way.
Oh aye. And it's dense.
Yeah.
Like
It's really dense.
as a story it's dense. Visually it's so dense. Like you could still unpackage it. Like each watch you find new things in the background or like things that somebody says and you're like, holy shit, that's talking about that. And,
Aye, that's something that got
dense,
me
man.
like this watch. Like, so obviously, like, fuck knows how many times I've seen it, but every time I watch it, there's something that because there is so much going on, I can latch onto it. And like with this one, I was able to just really get into all the production design, like, because you know that when you're watching any Terry Gilliam film, that like that's just kind of par for the course with it. It's going to be there's going to be an element of fantasy in there at least somewhere. Like even like Fisher King, which is I think the film that he's made that's most grounded in reality. Like there's even still like fantasy elements there, and it's all about like, you know, losing connection with reality. I think that's like one of the recurring themes in his films. But like,
I don't know, with so many of his films, it's all about sort of escape using imagination, isn't it?
Aye,
But like
exactly.
Brazil is specifically about it's a main character who's stuck in a horrible bureaucratic system, and his only way of escape is through his dreams.
And it's like trying not to stay in your lane and be open when there's so much oppression around you.
Yeah.
So, but
the interesting thing is the main character is like, he's a total dweeb. He's a total.
who's amazing at his job.
He is. He's amazing.
He's amazing at his job.
And he doesn't have any ambition. He doesn't.
It's like corporate ambition, but like when it comes to actual emotional ambition, he's got hundreds. But like
he likes to stay invisible.
the state doesn't really
Aye.
like encourage that.
and he has the opportunity to as well, like through nepotism, he can actually like, you know, get in a really, really good position. But he's it's not that he's just kind of riding the ebb and flow or anything. It's like it's just he's you know, he decides he's happy doing what he's doing.
I don't know what I would do if you ever got promoted.
Oh, God, don't worry about that.
No, but if they did promote you...
I've told you before, I turn it down.
Would you? Really?
Really?
You've been promoted. It's your mother, isn't it? Pulling strings again.
To get to what I think it's actually about, you have to focus on the fact that he uses his imagination a lot to escape, and that's the point, like complete escapism. And again, like back to the Christmas vibe, like I think that's what I get from it, like that sense of escapism, that sense of fantasy, and like, you know, again, it's that that certain style of 80s production where there's like so much, like there's so much practicality on screen. Like again, it's one of the great things about fantasy films like pre-mid-90s, like most of the money's on screen. You see it all, and it looks, it just was so tangible, and you could nearly be there, you know.
Yeah, the sort of Gilliam's style is there, and like one of the things that's said in one of the behind the scenes we talked, I think it was to a production designer or an art designer or something, and he said, like with a lot of films we'll have ways of doing things, but when Terry Gilliam says something like, you know, I want this green scenery and I want the buildings to shoot up out of the ground, the big towers, or I want someone to fly, like you have to do it.
Yes.
And
Gilliam's
so much amazing
tough
kind of
boy.
practical model effects and in the dream sequences, but even in the sort of design of the city and all that stuff as well. It's got that kind of the Art Deco thing we were talking about.
It's very like retro futuristic. It's got like retro futurism, and in terms of like giant sort of monolithic buildings and shadows and like the lighting, and then you've got tiny wee computer screens, but they're magnified.
Yeah.
So it's like,
oh, I love that.
It's so
actually,
cool.
yeah, I love how analog a lot of it is. Like I love the phones and
I like the fact that it's
steam
like
and the
it's like they've no mastered that technology having the big tellies, but they want it now, so that's why it's magnified.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're not ready for technology to catch up, so they want that now. So that's why it's magnified, because they're like, that's not good enough.
yeah, it's a bit of a technology obsessed society where it's all about convenience, but nothing quite works.
Aye.
Like you have that scene at the beginning with the toast being made, and then the tea pours out, but it pours out onto the toast. And it's,
But I've got quite a strong connection to Brazil, because I got Brazil and another film the same time, second hand for Avalanche, when I was like 14 on DVD. Brazil and The Crow.
Oh,
They were I got them, and they were like
that was a happy month.
That was a good day. But Brazil was like the first film I'd watched like into my teens that actually made me think, and it made I was sitting there like, but it's the first film I'd properly watched where I was like, there's more to this and more to actual cinema than what I'm letting myself indulge in. So it's like I I always say like Brazil's like is one of my favourites. Like I know it's one of your favourites as well, Richie, but it's like there's a lot to unpack. But I've got like a strong connection just because it was that first film that made me think like films can have like a strong message and a strong artistic message behind them, and not just like The Crow. Like there's a strong message, but it's just like a big goth fest, and you know what I mean. It's like there is a lot in there to think like this is trying to say something to me. So it's like, and I really appreciate that.
It's not like push you away either. It's not
like Banksy.
Well, totally. That's what I was going to say. Like the thing that I like about the messages in Brazil is it's not sort of trying to sort of grab you and go think about this.
This
it's
is
more,
bad.
The way that it's the messages that it has is just how silly things are, like how silly modern things are, how silly bureaucracy is, how silly our obsession with technology is, and it's always like none of it's trying to say like where are we going.
It's just saying be careful.
Like, it's just all it's saying. Like it's just trying to be a film that's kind of
it's a good satire,
fun, but it also makes you sort of it just has things that you recognise. Basically, it's a good satire.
Like you just laugh at the absurdity rather than it going, you're a fanny for not seeing this.
How funny is it as well? Like when there's explosions going off, there's terrorist acts happening, and then all these like old women are like, oh, it's terrible. Just trying to enjoy
in the
their
same
tea.
cafe, they're just like
Salt.
For Christmas presents at the chemist. Gift tokens. Medical gift tokens. Oh, that sounds marvelous.
There's an amazing line, like just near the end, where I'm guessing we're talking about spoilers, like people have seen it, when Sam's just about to get tortured for information, and the guard says to him, just like gee up easily because you'll affect your credit rating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, fucking hell.
I know, it's like no matter how grim it is, and it's fucking grim, like it still manages to pull you back with a wee bit of humour. Like because it is just like I would sooner sit down and watch Brazil, maybe not read it, sooner sit down and watch Brazil than watch 1984 any time. Just because 1984 is just great, but like it sends the exact same message, but like in a more involving way. You know, it's not that finger wag for like 2.5 hours.
1984 is like a really heavy kind of analysis, and there is a lot of it in there that you're like, fuck, that is how. There's not so much of that in Brazil, I don't think. I mean, it's got the tone, and you're right, it has the sort of similar message, but it's not the sort of, and here's how it works. It's just,
it's more playful.
It's more just like, yeah, exactly.
You know.
But like the interesting thing, again, there's like a making of documentary called What is Brazil? And everyone's asked, like, that's the question that everyone's asked. Like, when referring to the title, and I don't think anybody has like I don't think even Terry Gilliam has a proper answer, but I think it comes from, I quite like the story about how he came up with the idea, and I think he says he was talking about looking up locations for Holy Grail or Jabberwocky, because he co-directed Holy Grail with Terry Jones, and he directed Jabberwocky, that was his first film.
Right.
And he was in a mining town called Port Talbot.
Right.
And he was sitting, looking out over the beach, I think he was sitting in a cafe. And the beach, it was a total coal mining town, and the beach had like jetties that sort of moved coal up or down to ships or something like that.
Right.
And it was a very kind of, I think it was a winter day as well, and it was the sand on the beach was black in this beach in Port Talbot, and he kind of, there's one of the books I think on the documentary, there's a doodle that he made when he was doing it, and he had this idea of a guy sitting on a grim dark beach. And he's sitting in a deck chair and he's listening to sort of Latin American kind of music in order to transport himself to somewhere else, basically. And that's, I think that's where the idea of the song.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure I'd heard something today, like it was to do with a song, like that it's came in for the title.
I thought there was like, because there was a lot of terrorism going on in Brazil at the time. Because when I read up about what was happening in the news at the time, because there must because it's obviously a parody of the time, a satire of the time. You know, I don't think it in any way is like a cautionary tale about the future. I think because at the time there was a lot like the flight of Pan Am and like there's just tons of stuff. Like tons of like terrorism was pretty big in the 80s too. So I didn't
pretty big in the 80s. Like Wham.
Calvin Harris didn't put that in his song. Aye, you know what I mean? It was present.
Yeah.
And I never like when I was even like as a younger adult watching it. I think the last time I watched it was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And like when I watched it then, I didn't at any point think, oh, this is a cautionary tale about like we should look after ourselves, otherwise this will happen. It's just like, aren't things a bit daft and shite now? You know,
it's literally just exaggerating everything that's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just full of like so many good wee like inflections of things. Like noticing it this time, I really enjoyed the signs that are up everywhere.
Right,
like
the posters and
the posters, like they're really well designed, but they're obviously rips on it, but the things that they say in it are just a wee bit totalitarian, and I really enjoy that. Like there's a sign that I've not stopped thinking about it since I watched it. It was suspicion breeds confidence. I fucking loved that. I was as soon as I seen it, I was like, "That's shit hot, man." You know. And there's one that's "Don't suspect a friend, report them." You know, it's like they're funny, but they're tough. Like you know, I really did enjoy that. Like that really done it for me.
I kind of, you know what? Like there was a lot of like every time I watched Futurama, I think Futurama was like took a lot from Brazil and its sense of humour, like you know, you're not paid to think, that kind of shut up and work, like all that stuff. I think that was heavily influenced by Brazil.
It's just good how it shows you like how the bureaucracy, like the people that work for the state and the oppression of the state, like some of them, like they all realise how daft it is, but they don't realise how oppressed by the state that they are as well, which is like when the plumbers come and they're like, "Oh, we've got to fix your pipes," and Robert De Niro's there, and he's like,
Have you got a 27B/6?
27B/6. Stroke 6. Now look what you've done to him.
Well, have you got a 27B/6?
No, as such. We'll get one. All right, son. It's all right. All right.
Sorry, I'm a bit of a stickler for paperwork, you see. I mean, where would we be if we didn't stick to the correct procedures?
We'll be back. We'll be back.
it's like his apartment gets progressively worse as well. He's like, "You can't leave it like this," and he's like, "Well, if you blow your nose, you got to fix it anyway."
Because the whole idea of behind
I'm a stickler for
Robert De
paperwork.
Niro's character is that he's freelance. He's a freelancer. He's working outside the company because like the everything is run by one company.
I suppose one has to expect a certain amount.
Why? I came into this game for the action, the excitement. Go anywhere, travel light, get in, get out, wherever there's trouble, a man alone. Now they got the whole country sectioned off. You can't make a move without a form.
Like there's like an interview at the beginning of the film before this sort of big explosion about how like, you know, is it not a problem that everything is run from one company now? And it's like, no, it's great. It's, you know,
central services. Is that the advert at the start that's about your ducts and you can get different colours of them and stuff? Aye.
I love the idea that he's like a vigilante, but he's a vigilante because he's a freelance repairman.
It's so
perfect because it's Robert De Niro as well.
And it's like just doing freelance repair work, like doing a homer, is like basically an act of terrorism.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
See, like that whole period in the 80s when De Niro started kind of like dabbling a wee bit with comedy and stuff like that, like Real Angels and that. He's funny. He puts in a really fucking funny performance.
There's a stand-up comedian that does it, that talks about Robert De Niro, and like his only line is, "Remember when Robert De Niro was an actor?"
Oh yeah,
you know? I can't mind who it is, and it's like, it's true. It's like, when was the last good Robert De Niro film?
Well, at least he's clawing him back a bit with David O. Russell. Like he's kind of.
I know, but like
probably he must be at the point where he's just like, he's earned his stars.
like bad. Was it Dirty Grandpa or something? Like that?
Oh God!
You're forgetting about Rocky and Bullwinkle. He was amazing in that.
But
Jesus Christ, aye.
So one of the interesting things about Brazil. So Terry Gilliam had done Time Bandits at this point, and Time Bandits was made for a very small amount of money, so it made quite a lot of money.
That was handmade films as well, eh?
Yeah.
Right.
So you got George Harrison in the soundtrack and all that. And I think he had a deal because I think Brazil was an idea that he was playing with for ages, and he had a deal with Paramount, I think it was, and then he met this producer Arnold Milchan, who had
stuttery a name.
produced Once Upon a Time in America and King of Comedy.
Jesus.
Like, that was the two films that he'd done recently. And
Sergio Leone and Dick Scorsese.
So that's basically where the De Niro connection comes from.
Right.
That's how they got De Niro involved. Right. So apparently, it's quite funny that apparently the story about how Milchan and Gilliam got involved is that they had dinner one night, and after they had sort of a few bottles of wine and stuff, and they got a bit steaming, and Milchan asked him to describe the story for Brazil. At this point, Gilliam's version of Brazil was just he just had this sort of floaty kind of idea about the fantasy sequences and the dreams and all that, and he did apparently when Gilliam tells a story to a room full of people, he really goes for it with the gesticulating and
I can imagine he's quite a big personality, so
a room commander.
Aye, totally. Apparently Milchan, after they'd had a few bottles of wine, was like, I want to make this film. And then apparently that night,
is that
Gilliam,
totally equivalent to we should totally start a band?
Apparently Gilliam went back to his office, canned the Paramount deal, just got rid of Paramount entirely and wrote up a new contract. And then the next day Milchan was like, oh, I apparently I've agreed to make a film.
We're a nightmare.
So yeah, but I think the way Terry Gilliam sort of interviewed about it is he was warned off of Aaron Milchan because he was kind of seen as a bit of a, the way Gilliam describes it, was a bit of a pirate, a bit of a buccaneer, and
just
Gilliam
like Terry Gilliam.
Well, exactly, and Gilliam was basically saying he hates the Hollywood system. So, but they managed to get the money. They got the funding to make the film. I think Milchan got the money together to make the film, and then they released it in Europe. And the Europe, everywhere around the world except America, was sold to Fox. And then for America, it was sold to Universal. They released it in Europe, no problem. They got it to America, and Universal went, we're going to have to change this.
How the fuck did we sell this?
Purely because I think the main reason was that they'd cut the film at 2 hours and 20, 2 hours and 25 or something like that. So Universal requested that it be down to 2:05, and then Gilliam cut it down to 2:10. Yeah. But the reason, you can kind of tell the reason behind it is that if you make a film longer than 2 hours 5 minutes,
you only get a certain amount of showings.
You only get a certain amount of showings in an evening. You'll probably only get one. So they had.
And I understand that. Obviously, because was it Universal funded?
I don't think so. The film was already Universal just bought.
Right,
just to distribute,
because who was it that produced it? Because it's the producer.
Milchan, it's Aaron Milchan.
Is it Milchan that produced it? Right. Because there was one guy at Universal, his name kept popping up.
And
Patrick.
So the CEO of Universal at the time, and there was a whole mad thing.
He's a foot.
He's a foot.
He's a foot. He's a foot.
It's funny in those situations. Brazil's probably the first major public one, maybe, or I can't think of any others. But
because they put the ad in Variety and stuff like that.
They basically had Gilliam declared fucking war.
And he's a mile, but he's great.
I think that's probably the reason he's had so much trouble.
Oh, aye.
There's so much chat about Gilliam. He's uninsurable. He's and of course. Those problems, and there's always been a bit of a curse with these films as well. When he was
12 Monkeys and shit,
and what do you call it? Lost in La Mancha.
Lost in La Mancha. Don Quixote.
And then of course
that's still not getting made.
No,
more recently, Parnassus.
Oh yeah, but that was
that came together really well. So yeah, that kind of became he made it very, very public. That Gilliam made it public, and he turned it into a fight. Like,
and he done something illegal as well. He was like, I'm going to screen this for journalists, and like,
yeah, you're basically organised.
Like, you don't have a license to do that. He's like, I'm doing it, and then obviously he done it, and then all the journalists and like,
I
they were like, this is fucking amazing.
So yeah, no, he organised some unauthorised screenings in LA, and the critics board or whatever they were in LA decided to vote it the film of the year, best screenplay and best director.
There you go, man.
So Scheinberg basically had to put it out. So in America, eventually the 210 maybe I think cut came out, and then when it went into TV syndication, the Universal cut that Gilliam's name wasn't, I don't think it's even on. But I think he was quite happy with that, because he was just like, it's just the TV version. People get to see like the difference between a.
Aye.
What am I talking about? Blade Runner obviously was a major one around about that time as well.
So many cuts of that fucking film. What's the one without the voiceover? That's the Gidgeon.
The director's cut.
Aye, director's cut.
The one with the voiceover is...
It's chronic.
It's fucking...
It's like the entire film, it's like Harrison Ford actually sitting beside you going,
through a door.
Do you know what's going on?
He did it bad on purpose as well.
Yeah, totally. No, nothing against the big man. I'm just saying, it's like having somebody... In fact, Harrison Ford, it's like having your pished uncle beside you, like, that is supposed to signify...
You're a unicorn.
When I watched... I remember
He's a fuck.
watching Seven with my stepdad for the first time. Halfway through it, you figured it out yet? Just let me watch the film.
Yes.
So, but yeah, no, like, I can. It's one of those films that you can see why that battle took place, because it's a dense.
It's
film.
Conceptual. It's heavy conceptual.
It's almost kind of inaccessible in some ways,
and unique to not just the time period, but like generally, like how many films have you seen with a budget like that, geared primarily at adults, like a fantasy for adults, you know, that gets made? You just don't.
There's such a fucking craft to it, man.
Like
watching it again, like there's bits that always like stick with you, and you just keep like, just when you're watching through it, you're like, that's amazing. I don't think I could imagine anybody else ever doing that. Like, there's a bit where it's the camera's panning through like giant. The camera's moving through like giant pipes painted as clouds.
Oh yeah.
But it turns out that it's a miniature, because
the drunk guy.
The drunk guy's like at the window, and I was like,
stunning,
who the fuck could ever think of doing that?
Yep.
And it's just for a cheap shot, just to sort of distract you.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking me, man.
Yep.
It's so good. But there's just hundreds of bits, like the bit where it's Tuttle, in it, Robert De Niro, where he gets like eaten up basically by all the papers and all the forms that he's been sort of avoiding, and then when he goes to get them, he's not there, and it's just all the paper just disperses. It's
eaten
like,
by paperwork.
It's like,
yeah,
that's
there's some whole
absolutely
mad fantasy sequence.
It's like, that's so fucking good, man.
It's
like, there's hundreds of bits like that. Like,
like even down to the design of the little like one-man car and stuff like that. It's gorgeous. And like there's the first big dream sequence that really gets me is like how like seamless it all is. Like she's in a cage and she's being carried. But obviously she's an angel, she has to fly, so the cage is floating and it's tethered to all these like, you know,
the
trolls,
creature things.
And like, you know, and then like, you know, that starts like, you know, so he has to like fly up and like release her and everything like that, and like just, and then the ground grabs a hold of him and
it's Ian Holm.
Like
please Sam.
Come on. Exactly, and it's still funny, but like see that whole sequence, it's just like, it's got that like he articulates visually how dreams actually feel and flow perfectly. Like it's
like he fights the big samurai, and it's like next to hundreds of like neon stuff, and between these two big crumbling
and the idea
buildings
of like flames shooting out as he started. Like
I love that team, man. The flames just screaming out as soon as it gets hit and stuff. But it does a Empire Strikes Back thing when he takes the mask off. It's him. It's like what?
Have you seen the Monty Python Meaning of Life?
Probably. No, for fucking a long time.
Like a lot of so basically at the beginning of that there's like a opening feature, like a short film that's directed by Terry Gilliam. It's called The Crimson Permanent Assurance or something like that. And it's quite funny. I listened to a podcast with Michael Palin on it recently, and he was talking about how the Terry Gilliam short at the beginning, the rest of the Pythons were all really angry at him because he nearly spent all the money on the...
There's Terry. That's your Terry.
But like a lot of it's quite funny. So you got this moment where basically it's all these old accountants that are being kind of outshone by big city Wall Street guys, and they decide to sort of hijack the building that they're in, and then they sail it off onto the high seas of finance, and they sort of invade all the big Wall Street buildings and that sort of stuff. But halfway through Meaning of Life,
because it raises the bar like stupidly high in terms of visual quality.
It's like unbelievable. And then like halfway through the film, the guys from the opening feature swing into the sketch and start attacking everyone, and then there's a voiceover. It's like we seem to have been invaded by the supporting feature. But that sense of humour, I think.
Aye, like there's one bit that I laughed at really fucking hard this time, and it's when they're at the ironworks, and it's all the guys in the hazmat suits playing beach volleyball. It's like, as soon as I seen that, I was like, that is
the security guys singing in the choir.
It's like sing for your guts.
It's funny, like Terry Gilliam, in terms of like the Monty Python group, Terry Gilliam has always been his own thing because he kind of worked separately from them.
The animation,
and he kind of did all the animation.
Yeah.
But one of the things, like Terry Gilliam's one of those. He's an American that's obsessed with the UK. The story is, again, I was reading about him recently, and the story is that like I think he's seen the way that I think he was in New York. He was working for, like, he wanted to work on stuff like, he didn't work for Mad Magazine, but he worked on sort of similar things. And I think when he was quite young, he witnessed a protest. Like it might have been a Vietnam protest or something like that. But he was there when the nightsticks came out and started, you know, when the police basically went in and...
Aye.
But then when it was on the news the next day, it was all the protesters that were doing...
That were at fault.
Okay. So he was like, I think he had a moment where he was absolutely terrified, and then he was like, I'm moving. And he moved to here.
All right, okay.
But I find it interesting, like, how he nails the British sense of humour.
Aye. Like, better than
most.
I know, because like, that's something that always fucking annoys me, because first, like, a lot... Monty Python fans, right?
I know.
Right, and like
we're letting it ease, but we're not looking in a good way. It's like that deed way.
And it's always the same chat. Like, Americans don't get irony. They're like, one of the funniest members of the fucking team is American, and he's getting our humour better than most British comedians.
Plus, our Hendo loves Monty Python.
Aye.
Americans fucking
love it. Like Hendo's like, that's like my favourite comedy.
The thing that I hate is every time something is British and funny, it's referred to as Python-esque. But I would say, obviously there's a hint of it in Brazil, but
there is.
Like the cast of Brazil are brilliant. Like I think
Palin's great, man.
Palin's perfect because he's just like, Palin is notoriously, it's like the world's nicest man.
Yeah. And like, he's so sinister.
He's a torture merchant.
Aye, like, you know, it's obviously Gilliam's daughter that he's like, you know, playing about with and stuff like that.
You'll never get anywhere in a suit like that. Here. Try this. Bye-bye.
Bye.
No. But, Jack,
Sit on, big boy. I want to look at your willy.
Like, there was an interview a wee while ago with Michael Palin, and he was talking about how he wasn't happy with it was like a big retrospective on like Python. It was like, you know, when there was tons going on BBC and that, and I was like, he wasn't happy with that scene in Brazil, and he's like, this could be better. It could be like more sinister. So apparently, he was like, can we get like, I want to be like a family man. I want to pretend that I'm like, you know.
We're supposed to want another wee bit.
I'm alright.
Aye, man. Aye.
You want a wee bit?
Aye, man.
You want a wee bit? Because you can have Richie's bit. There you go, sunshine.
Dunker. So he's like, I want to be like, you know, I want to seem normal, to be like a grounded family man. Like he always gets the child's name wrong. He's like keeps calling her Barbara or something like that.
Holly.
Yeah, Barbara's the wife.
Right.
He's like, why do you keep calling her Barbara? Ken was a really weird line in it. And that was the first time I'd noticed it. When he's talking to Michael Palin and he's like, how are the twins? And Michael Palin says, no, they're triplets. And he goes, oh, how time flies. I was like, what
That's
the fuck?
a brilliant line.
That's such a strange line.
That's funny as fuck.
It's like, so the cloning as well? Or I was like, fuck. No, weird, like, but there's just hundreds to unpack.
I just read into it as mindless chat. Like, oh, you've got another rain now.
Like he's never really aware of what's going on. Like he's not 100% clued into what's going on in his own life.
Oh, how time flies.
A roadblock. What are we gonna do?
Stay calm.
Don't slow down. Don't slow down. Please, don't stop. Please, please, do as I say. Go. Go. Straight ahead. Go. 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 Go back.
Like Jonathan Pryce, he's kind of like, the thing I love about Sam as a main character is how much of a fucking non-hero. He's such a dweeb. He's the protagonist. He's the hero of the picture. But at no point he's
never the cool guy.
He wants to be invisible, and like, and most of the time in those films with a character like that, he gets thrust into a situation and he comes through. He doesn't. He's like, he just fucks everything up, and he continues to fuck things up right up until the end. And he never really does anything positive. It's always just constantly making more and more mistakes and getting worse. And like
when he's in the car and he puts her foot down on the gas to go through the barrier, and he's like, oh yes, we did it.
It absolutely ruins her entire life to the point where basically she gets killed.
Aye.
And it's all because of him. But I like that as a concept, because it's just like, here's your hero, your cinema hero, and you have the moments of him doing heroic things, but they're all in his dreams.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who dreams about being the hero, but actually he's not going to take any action. He just wants to be invisible. And
yep.
God, you're here. We're in terrible trouble. Look at this, look at this.
It's a check.
It's the refund for Tuttle.
Tuttle?
No, Buttle. I mean, Buttle. It's been confusion from the word go. He's been overcharged for information retrieval procedures, and someone somewhere is trying to make us carry the can.
Hey, can I have a look? I've never seen a refund check before.
I'll bet it's Jeffrey's. Yes. He always believes that people should pay more for their interrogation. And B, he loathes me. We've got to get rid of it.
Well, send it to somebody else. Better still, send it to Buttle. After all, it's his check.
I've tried that, but look at this. You see? The population census has got him down as dormanted. The Central Collective Storehouse computer has got him down as deleted.
Hang on.
Information retrieval has got him down as inoperative. And there's another one. Security has got him down as excised. Administration has got him down as completed.
He's dead.
Dead? Well, that's awful. We'll never get rid of the damn thing now.
Like the cast is really good. Ian Holm is.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
Like,
so good.
Like when he starts, he's on that edge of freaking.
Because he's
so
like,
well.
but it is that thing that they can relate to, because it's like, he's no good at his job, but the people that work for him are amazing at their jobs, and they're better than him. So like, he always needs to ask them to fix things for him, because he can't do it.
He's not even a good deliberator. Like,
no, he's constantly. He's that guy who's constantly scared of being found out.
For being shy.
Because
like when Sam sends the receipt away, and he's like, oh, thank God for doing that, and it comes back and he's like, oh, she's not got a bank account, we can't process it. He's like, well, might as well go and hang myself.
I see him as a reflection of Sam, because he's obviously got there through no experience. He's got there through nepotism. And remember, it's him as well that convinces Sam to, like, he's like, I said it for you, it's alright, you're in.
Aye.
It's like, you done what? Because he's obviously got there that way too.
No, he cancels his... Is it no that he cancels his... he rejects the promotion. That's what he does, doesn't he? He rejects...
Totally fucking...
It's like he rejects the promotion, then he has to go to Helpman. Is it Helpman? To go and say, I want to take the job. That's when he meets him in the toilet. When he picks him up and shakes him. Gives him a pish.
It's great, like, I think it shows a system where everybody's like, the humanity has been taken out of it entirely, because like that whole thing with the Tuttle Buttle.
That's what I was going to mention. That is like it's all based on that's chaos theory.
So
it's based on one clerical mistake, and that's just it just
that
goes
was
for there.
Tom Stoppard's idea, The Fly.
Aye,
because Tom Stoppard basically turned Terry Gilliam was like, I have this idea. Tom Stoppard turned it into a story before it then went back to Terry Gilliam and Charles McEwan. But yeah, no, it's about all these. It's about the system where everybody just wants to make sure they're doing their part of the job properly, and whatever goes wrong, they don't get blamed for it. It's like as long as that's
because he's like, oh, we're information retrieval, we're no information dispersal.
While he's talking to a grieving widow, she's like, what have you done with his body? And he's like, oh, it's a different department.
Different department, it's not for me.
But
and everything's like receipts, or have you got this stamped?
Do you know my favourite character? Maybe my favourite character in the film was Charles McEwan's character when Sam gets the promotion, and he's working in his wee office, in the table,
and the desk.
But the guy working next door he's one of the he wrote the script.
Oh, did he?
But he's so perfect, man. He's
so
busy. Funny.
Like the way he's like, wants to use his console. If you want to take my console, how's about I use it and you tell me what to do.
I think honestly, he's my favourite. My favourite character in the whole film is that guy. Like I could watch a whole film about him because he's such he's such a weed, but he's just like, and he's so pleased later on when he's absolved. It's like it's not his fault.
I need some information on a woman named Lake.
A woman named? I see.
Yes. I know her age and distinguishing marks, but I need an address or a place of work.
This is your dream girl, isn't it?
What? Look, let me use your console.
Oh, you must be joking. Well, there's a woman involved. There's no stopping me.
That's a little sheet.
Sorry, it's broken.
But you haven't switched it on.
Oh, yes.
So one of the problems...
Two fake endings?
There's...
I think it fakes you out twice for endings. Fake me out twice for an ending.
Well, that, like... so, like, one of the themes of the film is obviously escape through imagination. And, like, I watched it with my girlfriend, and that was her first time watching it. We got to the end, she went, well, that was a bit depressing. And I was like, was it though? Because it's kind of a happy ending, but it's a sad ending.
It's a sad ending.
Isn't.
But he's no dying unhappy.
Literally he's in a system and there's nowhere to go, and his only escape is to go completely insane.
And it shows you his face when he's gone insane and he's living in his dream world and he's
and then you get that amazing end credit music. It's so I love the score so much. Like it gets stuck in your head for days. That wee riff as well. It's
there's the actual, like, in terms of it being bleak and like I don't think it is at all, because you're right. He's got one direction, and like it's not a happy ending in any case. You know what I mean? So like he's in this place where it dictates that you can only have so much fun, and it has to be at the expense of someone else. Like that's like a huge part of the story. It's all about looking after you, and you come first. And it's like he just wants to fade to the background anyway, and in that world, it's impossible to do that. You just can't do that.
It is the full world that he exists in is one big. I don't mean to sound like fucking Banksy, but it is one big machine.
Yeah.
And he has to work his way through the machinations to get to wherever in his career or in his life.
Yep.
And it's just showing you how tough and shit that is.
Yeah.
But a big part of him getting to where he gets, and this is where I wanted to like go. Like a big part of like what drives him is like falling in love.
Yeah.
And every single opportunity he has to like excel and like move forward, he has so many opportunities to move forward. And like you said, he fucks them up, but he only fucks them up in his pursuit of his love. So
no, that's true.
He bumbles his way through
like
everything.
a huge message of the film is don't fall in love.
I thought it was do whatever you can for love, because he's basically gone against his superiors and misusing information, and obviously dies because of it.
One of
But so does she though.
When Universal took the film off of Gilliam and re-edited it, they decided they had decided that the theme of Brazil was love conquers all. And again, I saw watching an interview this morning, and Gilliam was like, I had no idea that's what it was about, but okay. But that's what they call the TV cut, the Love Conquers All cut, because it just ends with them living happily ever after. And
Jesus,
the credits.
That's fucking shite. That.
No, it's like
instead of that, the
big fish.
The shot. See do you know that's filmed in one of those cooling towers? You know the big chimneys.
It's like it's an actual set,
which is amazing. And they built this narrow little platform.
That shot where they first take his mask off, and it's he takes his mask off, and it just pans out, and it just shows you the fucking scary it, man.
There's a shot in the behind the scenes of them running with the camera on the dolly, but the fact that that's not a matte painting, like you're watching, you're like, fucking hell, that's giant. That shot is gorgeous, and it's a great place to end it.
It's genuinely scary as well.
It's terrifying.
When he turns and looks at the camera, and but
with
it's
the
mask on. But it's how long he holds looking at you. It's that thing the things that really really freak me out, and it's not the jump scares or anything like that. It's when something stays on something scary, and you're like, I can't even fucking look at that anymore. That's when you know you've really made something scary. You can be that confident.
Plus
you're just
check
this it. Yeah. I think there is a point to the setting as well, because Christmas is supposed to be a time where and they're not really explicit about it. It's so obtuse you can't even this is just a theory that it's set at Christmas because that's obviously a period of time where you're all meant to come together, and it's all about family and bonding and everything like that.
Well, plus it's got that
and people, and
it's got there's a 50s artistic style to it as well, and obviously people say that the 50s Christmas stuff is the most idyllic stuff. It's got a baby boomer thing, and it's got a wartime thing as well as the loose lips or noose lips poster. It's another one of the posters, all that sort of stuff. So it ties in with the actual art style.
I love how every Christmas present in the film is that same executive toy.
Yes or no?
Which apparently was very expensive to make.
Yeah?
It was something like 4,000.
Jesus Christ.
Because I think they thought it might have been a piece of merchandise or something at some point.
Is it weird because that's a wee bit of fantasy too, because they don't, that's chance
Yeah.
And the people that actually would be using that, like the executives, wouldn't they be taking chances? They'd be predetermining themselves in their own jobs.
No.
Huh?
No. You've got it screwed on the night.
So to wrap it up, Brazil is very good.
It's fucking great, man.
It's very dense, and it's
not that bleak. It's funny.
It's funny. It's very funny.
And it is
it's funny, and it's enjoyable, and it's got a pace and a thrust to it that just goes and goes and goes. There's no like any sticky, bogged down moments. It's just like.
Well, that's the thing. Like when Gilliam cut it down to 2 hours 10, it's like he was on the. Like you have to cut it. When he got it down to 2 hours 10, he's looked at it over and over again and decided that's absolutely as far as I can go.
That's it.
But I think that kind of worked to his favour though, because I think if it were a little bit longer, it wouldn't have seemed as busy, which adds to the whole theme of the film. Like, you know, getting lost in all this information. You know, because it never rushes at any point, but at no point does it drag. There's always like more than about a dozen things going on at once. Like
it's like the world is so busy, and if you're not keeping up to date with that world, then you just get lost in it.
Yeah, it's like he's such like Gilliam, just as he's so
brain.
He's huge. Like he's all about persevering, and like he's anything that's been flung at him, he's fucking dealt with it, he's moved on, he's still making films. I mean, Jesus Christ, going through half the stuff that he's gone through, I don't think I would have done it. And like,
have you seen Zero Theorem?
Aye.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a your old dad reacts to social media thing going on, but it has.
It's got moments, because I think.
But do you know he made that film for 8 million?
Aye, and remember how
that
old he
looks
is
like
as
a
well.
Fucking bajillion million film. That.
Like he's an old guy too. Like of course he's going to like respond things like that too. But
I'm going to hate to name drop here, but I interviewed him a couple of years ago, and like
that's fine, man. If I'd met any celebrity, I'd be like,
I've interviewed quite a lot of directors and actors.
I met Lance Henriksen.
And
I got Stephen Jardine to sign a bus ticket. It's a true story.
But like my experience of that time, I mean, I guess he could be either way. I could have just got him on a good day, but I caught him at the end of a day of long. Like I was put right at the end of a day of interviews. Like when I'm interviewing someone, it's usually 100 more important people and then me right at the end. So like I'm always getting people that's really, really tired at the end of the day, and I always find there's two different types. Like you get the ones that sort of come in and sort of flop down in the chair and go and then answer the questions and then leave, and then you get the ones that come in and shake the hands of everyone in the room, like the guy who's setting up the lights, and he was just like, and he was like, hey, how you doing? And he was just, and he was so, and he had a wee ponytail and everything. Yes. And he was like, right, what are we talking about? And he sat down and he was just so enthusiastic, and just like the energy that was coming off him, it was amazing to be in a room with him. But my favourite thing was like at the end of the interview, I was like, by the way, Brazil is one of my favourite films of all time, and he just exploded again. He was like, oh, I hated it, they all thought it was shit. I was like, I know.
I've read the book, man. Come on. Did you get him to sign it though? Did you get him signing it?
I didn't even sign it. I didn't even get a photo. Like I was at that point, like I try and keep it really professional when I'm interviewing. So the only time I've done it is Kevin Smith, but when I'm interviewing...
That's the banker.
No, I'm always like, I better not do the photo, because but now I really regret it.
I think it's fine.
When Don Quixote gets made open.
Read the room, man. If it seems like they're as enthusiastic as Terry Gilliam, he's not going to mind about a photo, for fuck's sake.
No.
See, one thing I wanted to ask actually was, see Brazil... and Time Bandits and Brazil and Baron Munchausen, they all came out in a row.
Yeah, they're sort of considered to be a trilogy.
Like childhood, adulthood, and
they're basically I've heard them described as the Imagination trilogy.
Right. All right. So was it a deliberate thing? Because I was going through IMDb.
It might be, or it might not be. But I mean,
there's so many themes, and it's all about getting lost in your own imagination.
But they have that. Yeah, they do have that kind of.
It seems like.
Idea.
And it's so convenient that it's like childhood, adulthood, autumn years.
Yeah, totally.
So.
I never thought of it like that actually. But like, apparently Time Bandits again was another one he had a little tiny wee bit of trouble with the ending, because obviously the parents get blown up at the end of Time Bandits.
Oh fuck! Aye, that's. Do you know
But that's
what?
meant to be like
forget
you're
about
like
that every time I look, because I hated Time Bandits as a win, but
Right.
I couldn't stand it because it was like it was too close to home. It wasn't fantasy for me because it's like I was just English folk. I see them on telly every day. I'd be like annoyed as fuck. We 8-year-old like. You know,
Fucking Sassenachs, mate. Sassenachs.
Like which Robocop?
It's time for keyword roundup for Brazil, which is where we take the 10 keywords from IMDb, 10 best keywords for IMDb for that film and read them out to you. Are you ready? For keyword roundup for Brazil. 1. British Renaissance. 2. Interrupted sex. 3. Cockney accent. 4. Commando raid. There's a lot of people bursting through windows, so it makes sense.
Called John Matrix.
Not through windows, through holes in the ceiling.
5. Employee relationship. 6. Nipples visible through clothing. 7. Finger gun. 8. Kicked in stomach.
I want to search that.
9. Rube Goldberg machine. What? I don't know what a Rube Goldberg machine is. And then 10. Science runs amok. So that's keyword roundup. Somebody says Brazil's my number one favourite film. Who's this? Grant Thompson. Brazil's my number one film. Offy, deep, meticulous, and I notice something new every time I watch it. Do you have a film like that?
Brazil.
Aye.
Brazil, eh?
Southland Tales.
Oh, Jesus, suffering.
Danny, I think I'm ready to revisit Southland
You
Tales.
should. In fact, you know what?
We should.
The Perrys were doing it, but
I'm
I'll
ready.
give you a
Everything
shot
on
in the
that-
comics,
The comics,
first.
right, okay.
Right.
Okay. Would Baba, would Abba, would Babe do... That's the one. Says, my Christmas film was The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Don't ask. Don't tell.
I went to see The Santa.2 at the cinema and I was well into it.
Cool, man.
Santa Claus has some breakthrough prosthetic effects.
This is actually quite a good
I was
answer.
writing to Tim Allen at the time.
Chemical Polly. Paul says that he watches Home Alone and WWF Royal Rumble 2000 while taking many drams. He's done it every year since 2008.
I never thought about watching the wrestling.
Nice.
But that makes sense. To completely like what we were talking about earlier. About
Nice.
that.
And what we're talking about earlier as well, at Comrade the Bear says Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings, jumper on, snacks out.
Jurassic
Class.
Park's a good one, yeah.
Jurassic Park is very
I
much
think
a
we can just
BBC
say
one.
Spielberg.
Spielberg in general. Scott Ormsby says he watched Brazil for the first time tonight and he absolutely loves Gilliam.
Hopefully, that's a good point. If anybody else hasn't seen it yet, even if you don't like the sound of it, like there's really, honest to God, no other film like it.
No.
Nothing like it.
What you got to us?
So, until next time.
Sorry that the feedback was a bit rubs, but we've extended ourselves pretty big for this guy because we love Brazil.
What about Brazil nuts? That's a good Christmas staple.
They're too big. Just see when you see them, you're like, that's a fucking task and a half, that. And it's like a dinner.
I need a toffee hammer.
You do.
It's like a dinner.
It is like a dinner. It's like, Mum was like, get the Brazil nuts. And you get a wee sack of them, it's like 4.
Brazil nuts are such a parent. What is it about the older generation that fucking love
Brazil nuts? They're giant, man.
You know
Same
what?
with
We should do a
Topic.
stand-up in the mid-90s and ask that question, Richie.
What's the deal?
What's the deal with one that's loving topics?
I've got a fucking topic in my fridge. And the camembert fella.
Belter, absolute belter.
Right, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll be back next week.
Watch some films.
Watch some films, and yet again, at us, speak to us on Twitter. Twitter handles will be flying about. But
And next time you see us, it'll be even closer to Christmas.
Just that tiny wee bit of Santa's breaking in. He's squeezing through your dreams because you've not got a chimney.
Oh, I've just bumped my fingers in Dental's pocket. Oh, mommy, daddy.
Tell us about your Christmas film traditions, anything you like about Christmas, your best Christmas toy. We don't care. We'll
Send
talk
us
to you
pictures
about
of your slippers.
Aye, send us pictures of your rad Christmas stuff. We don't care. Just send us it all. We love Christmas, and we'd love to hear from you. And nothing makes us feel more festive than hearing from you.
I'm wearing toasties.
You fucking up. Oh, Jesus. Oh my
It's
God.
Christmas.
It's Christmas. It's Christmas time.
The fire's roaring.
It's roaring, Keaton.
roaring on the liver.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, thanks.
Bye.
Central Services.